this game. It's a pretty cool game. I remember seeing stuff about Neon White about a year ago, just some small blips and pieces of gameplay, but like that one episode of SpongeBob, the little men in my head took that envelope and stored it away deep in the back of my mind. And then, during the Summer Game Fest, I saw the game again and was like, that's the guy who voices Tank Dempsey! That's kind of cool. Then, when the game dropped, I saw it was only $25, and I was like, screw it. The reviews are good, it's cheap, it has Sub-Zero. What's the worst that could happen? And if need be, I can always refund it. It has been 2 days. I have almost 20 hours in the game. Neon White is a fantastic game. I don't know much about the team behind it or the community, but judging by the fact that the credits weren't 20 minutes long and the game doesn't cost $70, I can assume it's more indie than AAA. Even so, the game definitely feels more AAA. It's super well polished, and the player base on the game has actually been increasing every day since its release, which is mind-boggling. Usually with games, the first day is always the peak, then you see the player base slowly go down over time. But so far, it's done the opposite. This is probably in part due to people watching others play the game and seeing how fun it looks through mediums such as YouTube and Twitch. But even so, the content about this game on those platforms is pretty slim, so I'm here to add to it. Before we begin, I have a Discord subscribe button, like button, join button that you can click to help support me and get cool rewards, a shitty Twitter, a Twitch channel, all linked in the description. Alright, moving on. Let's start with the gameplay. The gameplay of Neon White is a speedrun parkour FPS, where you can sacrifice your guns for cool movement abilities. So how good are these aspects in Neon White? The speedrunning aspect is done beautifully. All the levels in the game are custom built for each run. They're all built sort of with a set way to finish them, as you have to kill every demon in each level, but there are also a bunch of different ways you could beat it. This is nice because the levels are always built around this, making sure that each time you pick up a card, you're going to be using it almost a second later. For better or for worse, this means that your goal isn't just to reach the end, but also to find the fastest way to kill every enemy and get to the end, adding a bit of puzzle solving to each level as well. This means that almost every level sort of feels like a fast-paced puzzle solver. There are some shortcuts and other ways you can be custom with the levels, but most of it is set in stone from the start. The gameplay is a lot of trial and error, once again, for better or for worse. I personally never minded it, as most of the levels are around the 30 to 40 second mark, and when you finally master a level and do it perfectly, the game feels amazing. Each level also has a good amount of replayability, as once you beat it the first time, you get access to find secret gifts, which I'll talk about later. You could also try to improve your score, the whole point of speedrunning, which can give you hours of replayability if you're up for it. I was never a big speedrunner before, but the seamlessness of it in this game actually convinced me to try, and I managed to get top 4 on a level after watching a guy on YouTube do it and then just doing it better. I'm not sorry. It's not perfect though, and I do have a couple of complaints about the gameplay. For starters, the character is pretty floaty, which for the most part I don't mind, because if you do the level the way it's supposed to be played, you won't ever get stuck floating in the air. But if you try to get custom with it, then I could definitely see how this could end up screwing you over in the long run. Another complaint that I had more consistently was hitting my head on ledges. Just small bits and pieces throughout the level that would end up ruining my entire run. So yeah, that wasn't very fun. But once again, just small nitpicks. My final detail I'd give about the gameplay is that sometimes I would do something very cool, like a skip that wasn't the one the game hinted at, and I'd be like, man, that didn't feel intentional. I just broke the game. Big win. But I'm almost positive it was probably intentional, but it still felt really cool in the moment. Now, onto the story of the game. Believe it or not, inside of this speedrun parkour FPS is a visual novel story. Yeah, it's there alright. I won't talk too much about the actual story, just in case you care enough to read through it and learn all of it, but overall, it's very mid. You get the story through these visual novel type cutscenes with other characters where you just listen and read the dialogue. You don't have any special choices or any bonds you can build with the characters. It's not like that. It's simply just a way to get the lore to the player, and that's okay. It's not too in your face to the point where it's annoying. If you don't like it, you could simply fast forward through all of it, and if you do enjoy it or just want access to special bonus levels, then you can collect secret gifts in the levels that then give you more time with the characters in the game. The characters are also very mid. They're generic, stereotype, one-dimensional characters that you'll probably care very little about, except for the red one, who you will only like because you're praying the game has a hidden sex scene somewhere in it. There's voice acting throughout all of the main story dialogue, and honestly, I liked it. I thought the voice acting was good, although I don't know if my take is valid, as I also prefer to watch my anime in dub, so maybe I'm not the right person to ask. It has Steve Blum, and he's voiced, like, a lot of cool characters, so that's neat. But I also think the rest of the cast did a good job with what they were given as well. The dialogue is a bit all over the place. Sometimes I was laughing, sometimes I was cringing, sometimes I was falling asleep. So overall, I'd give it like a shitty Joker impression out of 10.
It's like I said before. I've got big plans.
He's like the Joker. It's like I said. To make an omelet. The music and art in this game are pretty good. The art is a nice low poly cartoony style that features some pretty nice looking environments throughout the game to explore. The music, although sometimes repetitive, is also pretty great. The artist behind it is apparently a pretty big deal, although I had never heard of them until now. That's not supposed to be like offensive, that's just how it is. But yeah, the music fit really well with the gameplay. And a couple of my favorite songs I had throughout the playthrough would have to be that one trailer song, Cloud 9, that was good, and You Were Dealt a Bad Hand. Mostly because I treated them like those fucking anime intros that have one English word and just sang it every time it came around. Overall, with this all being said, I ended up 100%ing the game in about 16 hours. That translates to roughly $1.6 for 1 hour of gameplay, which is pretty good for games these days. The 100%ing of this game was also very seamless, as it just involved playing a level several times over. The first time, beating it, the next time, speedrunning it to try and get the ace medal, and then the final time, taking your time and looking for the gift. Repeat this about 90 times, and bam! You 100%ed the game. Also keep in mind, I did listen and read through all the dialogue in the game. I'm sure if you played this game skipping all dialogue and just tried to finish each level, then you could probably beat it in under 4 hours-ish. Just something to keep in mind. So overall, this game has been a welcome surprise into my Steam library, and I can't wait to beat every other record that Shovel Claws has set. Wait, you wanted like a rating? Oh. Huh. I don't know, like an 8, like a 7.5, like an 8. Yeah, 7.5 to 8. That's pretty good. Take it or leave it.